Toby got into your. Hey, there we go. We're live.
Okay, we're
alive. Hello, we're live.
Hey, everybody, give him 1 minute. We are a little slow here on the uptake.
Woo.
All right. Hey, everybody. Sean Dotson here with The Flip Side. Want to welcome you to the After Hours Party, your favorite non-PC beer drinking, thrill of the chase talking show, everybody. And right off the bat, want to give everybody a disclaimer. This is not a PG-13 event. So if you've got the kids listening to this, you better turn it down. Tell them to go into the other room because you never know what's going to happen on this show.
That's right. I already got two
We
Viagra.
don't guarantee it's
so
why it's the After Hours, After Dark show. You just never know what's going to happen, folks. So just want to give that caveat to y'all and send the kids back in the other room. So just want to welcome everybody here. And we do have my search partner, David Kramer, back with us, and my good friend, DeCall Thomas, as always, with us. So, David, just want to give you and DeCall a chance to say hi to everybody in the chat room real quick.
Woo! Hey, glad to be back, everybody. I see a bunch of new names over there. I have pre-lubed the stuff inside of this. I'm not going to tell you what pre-lube means, but I am really glad to be back, and I look forward to spending some time with you all tonight. You're on, Brother Thomas.
What am I supposed to say right now? How you guys doing? Glad to be here.
That's right. Never mind.
So as always, I want to let everybody know I'm down here at the Three Rivers Brew Distillery in Farmington, New Mexico. And tonight I'm enjoying a PBR, which I'm about at the end of it here. I should have a new one coming. So just want to say cheers to everybody in the chat room. Cheers to you.
Cheers. I'm drinking a little something. Normally that's, it's a thing, but something.
Yeah, Diet Coke, brother.
So, David, give us an update on your vacation. You've been out of the net for a couple weeks, and you were out in Vegas. So give us a little update on your vacation. How did that go? Tell us how Vegas was.
Okay, so like Vegas has some distinct odors. Okay, that's the first thing you'll notice. All right.
Where did you discover those smells?
Oh, dude, let me tell you something. Like last year when we were in Vegas, my wife and I are walking down the Vegas Strip, and we're smelling some shit. Not shit. We're smelling something, and it's like, all right. But then we realized that basically the smell on the Las Vegas Strip is from the laundry. It's all of the laundry.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff they're doing. You can smell like the dryer sheets or whatever they put in to soften the laundry. All right, that's cool. And then you get down on Fremont Street. Fremont Street, every skunk in the goddamn business is smoking some shit. Let me tell you something. I smelled more fucking weed on Fremont Street, and it's legal. So what are you going to do? You're going to be looking around going like, well, in my day, you pass the shit. Nowadays, I guess you just bogart that crap. But
that's everywhere. I'm really. Crazy, I used to get angry every time I smelled it. It's like, come on. But now it's like every 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's different. That's for damn sure. And then, I had my family with me. I had my wife and my 16-year-old son, which he really enjoyed Fremont Street. But anyway, my 16-year-old son, and then my
Fremont
Street
experience.
Amen. And then my 24-year-old daughter and her boyfriend. And we brought them along with us. And, man, for the week, we just went crazy. I normally don't play the slots a lot because slots aren't going to give you any money. But let me tell you something, man. Those casinos were so kind to me. I mean, Circus paid me somewhere between $500 and $600. The Gold Nugget gave – but you had to go there for my kid because they got this huge, game.
Right.
Yeah, right. And then Golden Nugget, man, they gave me back somewhere around $600 plus. The El Cortez on Fremont Street, they paid me somewhere, and I felt bad because the El Cortez apparently needs the money. They ought to have a little.
Oh no, don't feel bad.
But they paid me somewhere between $300 and $500. I mean, man, it was ridiculous. So the casinos gave me back every dime for all of our meals, everything we did. I mean, it was ridiculous.
What was your game of choice, David? Slot machines then, or what did you play?
My real game of choice is generally blackjack, but because my daughter's boyfriend and my daughter really don't know anything about gambling except scratch tickets. I sat down and was showing them how to play slot machines. And it was absolutely ridiculous. I would walk along and I would look at a machine. I'd sit down, and at first I was throwing hundreds in the fucking things, figuring I would show them how to lose $100. And within a few spins, within a few spins, these bitches are throwing me back hundreds of dollars. And I'm just, well, And then my daughter's boyfriend, at one point, he's like, I'm sorry that you're winning all this money. Because every time they sat down to a machine, they were losing their ass, but that was all right. But anyway, Vegas was great. It's really hard on a guy like me because I've got no heart and no lungs left. So had a great time. They took it slow with me, and it was better than the vacation than I ever could have imagined. So
and Fremont Street was entertaining mostly because of the all the entertainers and homeless and panhandlers and weirdos.
My son is a bass player in a band, and they've got a few gigs coming up, and 16 years old, so we're watching the bands and the go-go dancers. But mostly Fremont Street was entertaining because of the titties. I can't lie.
What were they? What were they showing? Jeez,
they got the little like nipplettes thing. What do they call them things? Freaking pasty, I haven't covered their nipples.
I haven't been down there in a couple years. Did
you guys walk down the strip, David? Did you guys walk down the strip, or
we did, but that was a real tough time for me because as we got probably a half a mile from the hotel, my hands swole up so I couldn't even make fists. My legs were swollen up. I've got a bad heart and bad lungs, so. Walking is not a real good thing for me, but we made it down to the Hard Rock, and then we sat there and had a couple drinks, and then walked through the Hard Rock, and really appreciated a lot of the crap that's going on, there, and made it to the M&M's place, and then walked back, and I sat down at a Buffalo Machine, and fucking made some more money.
Yeah. Hey, did you ever watch my keto video? I don't want to get into health, but I mean. If it changed my life, it certainly could change yours. I don't know if you care that much. I don't want to get into it.
No, brother, I do care. And basically it's the some kind of fucking diet. My doctor wants me on because I can't do all the meats and fats and stuff because my heart will just collapse.
Well, no, those guys, they got it backwards, dude. It should be meat and fat. I'm not kidding. And
Rodney Greenway thinks the word I was looking for was booby tassel.
Yeah, that's
booby tassels. That was like 1970, wasn't it? Booby tassels.
Well, I'll take a 1970 booby tassel. Shit, I'm an old guy.
Those boobies were real boobies. Man.
All right. So anyway, the vacation was great. Vegas couldn't have been kinder to me. I'm really glad that I took the family. That was my retirement vacation. It cost me about 10 grand, and fuck it, I'll be back. Vegas strong, baby.
Yeah, I love Vegas. Vegas is awesome. I love this town. Sometimes I'm out there in the middle of the night working on the strip or working off the strip, welding, of course. But I love this town sometimes,
there you go, man.
You've got to say welding, of course, because your wife might be watching.
Yeah, you can't say booby tassel.
Well, it is kind of strange because, seriously, I work in the middle of the intersection welding those street lights and street light poles, and I do other things, water pipes underground right there in the middle of the intersection.
Dude, right in front of the Bellagio, I took a fall. They got these freaking poles with chains and shit, and the light turned and my feet were up against the curb, and I tried to step back, and then I grabbed the pole and I uprooted the chain, the pole, the whole shit, because fuck, man, I'm like 300 pounds.
You're like a gorilla, dude.
Oh, fuck. I uprooted all that shit, and it was like, somebody will fix that. That guy went on, All right, man. We got anything going on with the chase? Anybody found the chest yet? I mean, God bless America.
You're still trying to catch up with everything that's gone on the last 2 weeks or so. But did you hear about this guy that broke into Finn's house? Did you hear about that?
Yeah, with the axe, man. Hey, Eugene, careful with that axe, Eugene. Yeah.
Oh, my
all work
God.
and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Yeah, I'd have shot his ass. I saw Sasha.
Johnny.
You know what? I'd have shot his fucking ass. You know what? They'd have been picking him up and mopping up the blood, which actually the blood is kind of your problem. But yeah, I'd have shot him.
I felt the same way at first until I heard that it was Forrest and his daughter that were holding him at gunpoint. Yeah. And then it looked like, if you notice in the video, it looked like Forrest said to the guy, or to the police, the moment the police walked on the property, Forrest said, "Don't shoot. He's calm." Yeah. Like, I think that would be the biggest nightmare in the world if the guy actually got shot. Now, I do think the guy, I don't feel sorry for him. I think he should be in jail for several years. I want to feel bad, maybe. But okay, it's almost like somebody else is going to do it if he only gets 2 weeks in jail or 3 weeks in jail. Somebody else is going to go on the property. And this needs to be a huge deterrent. And I'm sorry that this guy is the one that's got to be made an example. I haven't heard anything about the case, but he does need to be made an example. That a foolish idea will get you in jail for several years and will be extremely financially troubling and painful to the guy. Okay. And that's how it is in everything in life. One little tiny stupid mistake, I try and tell my kids this all the time, will cost you a good portion of your life. Okay.
Or your life. Yeah. Because I can imagine Fenn and his daughter were sitting there going, "You shoot him. I'm not going to shoot him. You shoot him. Come on, you shoot him. It's your turn. I shot the last one."
I might, if I was there,
the guy was wearing an orange jumpsuit already. I mean, golly.
I just want to know what kind of guns they were holding on him. Shit, because what was the deterrent? If Fenn's sitting there with a 22 Barney Fife in his ass, it's like,
Well, unknown searcher disagrees with me. What do you disagree about? That the guy shouldn't be made an example? That you should forgive the guy? What are you saying? I can't imagine.
Look, Brother Thomas, if the man is truly mentally ill, then we pretty much have to
who said he was
behavior. I don't know. I'm saying if the man is truly mentally ill, then we need to.
Oh, he's not. He's not mentally ill. He's just stupid. He's just extremely stupid.
Then he should have died from lead poisoning. Fuck him.
Well, like Forrest can't shoot him. His daughter can't shoot him. They don't want that kind of thing over their head. I mean, he has a treasure hunt, and now he's shooting people in his yard. There's no way that's going to end well for Forrest Fenn. Okay. So,
it's like running a fucking carnival. Oh, I got this treasure hunt going on, so I ain't going to shoot you. All right.
Well, I mean, but if the guy would have kept holding on to the axe and heading towards the main part of the property, he probably would have got shot. I'd
have shot him. I'd have fucking shot him. I'm telling you right now.
Well, I mean, we all know that from what we do know that that Shiloh wasn't there. So I think if Shiloh was there, it might have been a completely different story. Because I think he did break into the guest house, which I think we all know is Shiloh's residence. All right, you're right.
Joel Lewicki, prison has counseling.
I'm kind of on the side of unknown searcher, a little bit anti-DeCall, I guess, on this one, guys. I'm just happy that Zoe and Forrest both had enough resolve not to fire on the guy.
Sure. And that the guy had enough resolve
in firearms and concealed carry permits to.
The guy had enough resolve not to take that last step forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that last step forward is your last step forward.
Well, he was. See, it's it makes me mad that, okay, all of a sudden after they got guns on him, okay, now he's crying, asking forgiveness and expressing a lot of misery and misfortune after they have him at gunpoint.
Well, sure. Isn't that when everybody is sorry, DeCall?
Yeah, I know.
You're always sorry when you get caught.
Yeah. There's no better time to buy insurance.
It was Why Must I Go that had mentioned that he thought that this guy looked like a searcher who comments on some of the forums named O, and I don't know if it was him or not, but O had an avatar picture that was over on Mysterious Writings that looked a lot like this guy. Now I can't confirm this or anything. I don't know if anybody else can, but it was definitely coincidental that he did look a lot like this. Avatar that O had. So I don't know if anybody knows this for sure or not, if O is from Pennsylvania. Oh, if you're in the chat room or if you're on the forums, please confirm that was not you, so we can get past this.
Holy
but
crap.
O is completely convinced that all the the 109 and 43 was leading them up to Kerwin. So I couldn't imagine that this is they would actually all of a sudden believe it's not 8.25 miles north of Santa Fe.
Oh, geez, yeah.
From my prison cell, no, it wasn't me, man.
I don't know.
But anyway,
maybe
Joel
somebody can
Lewicki
confirm or deny that. But.
Well, Joel Lewicki says that there is counseling in prison, so let's just hope that's that.
We know what kind of counseling that is.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. There's also
Sledneck is saying it wasn't so thank you, Sledneck. I hope you're right. I hope it wasn't.
You're pretty brave just throwing names out there.
That's right.
Yeah, it was it was age.
I just want somebody to know if that's not him. Please tell me it's not that guy.
Totally not Mitzi.
Because I've had conversations with that guy. I feel bad for him.
Oh, jeez. Oh.
Sorry, Forrest. I know my drinking is distracting.
Shit. That's right. Woo. All right. Hey, Sean.
So hopefully this
Sean.
guy. Yeah. Yep.
Who we got in the chat room? Anybody we want to say hi to? We got any new people in here? I see people. I don't even know who the hell these people are. Where'd you all come from?
We didn't even start in there. There's all kinds of people in there. Everybody can see them.
I know. We got some like anonymous people and shit. I don't even know.
There was like 120 people in here at one point. So.
Oh, my God. Were they all getting high and shit? They're all on that
we know Mitzi is.
Double bag. Yeah, that's Mitzi. There you go. Mitzi, I'm so sorry. I missed the show that you were on. I don't even know what the hell I was doing. I was probably recovering from some kind of cardiac something or other. I don't know.
Journeyer, I don't know who's old and who's not old. I mean, what do you consider old? I know. I don't really try and say hi to, but we're 20 minutes into this, and I haven't said. Well, I'm going to go up here. I'm going to say hi to some people. Okay, I'm going to start with Gregory Colvin Garcia, which is CGC or GCG on most of the forums. I know him. Mr. Quivner, Rodney Greenway, H. Purd, Rob G, Zozo Rocks, Unknown Searcher, Jimmy Fast. How are you doing? Jonesy1, their Journeyer. And if you don't know, Journeyer has posted some things over on the Facebook channel. If you guys go over to my Facebook channel, there's some chat on there. Minotaur Marino. Hey, Justin, how are you doing? The Mrs. Dodson. Hello, babe. She's actually sitting right over here next to me. Where are we at? William. Hey, William, how are you? One of our friends out there in Florida. That's in your neck of the woods, David. Ethermans, I should say. Gage Cockrell, DAK, Jimmy. Oh, I already said Jimmy. Anon, 222 Canarf. I'm going through down everybody. There's Craig Carter, DeCall Thomas, Ledneck. 23 Monarch is in here. I know I saw him.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Sakar. Hey, Sakar, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while. Totally not Mitzi, of course. We've got all kinds of people in here. Marty. Now I keep seeing this name, Marty Bird. Now, if any of you guys have watched, what's the name of that show again? Oh, not Appalachians. It's Ozarks. Sorry, I'm talking to my wife. She's sitting here. We were watching this show on Netflix called Ozark. And one of the main characters is named Marty Bird in there. And I can't remember the actual actor's name. We liked him. He's in a lot of good movies like Extract and a bunch of other movies. But if you haven't watched that show, Jason Bateman. Thank you, babe. She's sitting right here. She totally corrected me. But Marty Bird is the character's name and in the show Ozark. So Marty Bird, I don't know if you've actually watched that show and that's why you use that name, but totally a cool name. Michael, MEH is in here. How are you doing? Finn Treasure Hunter. There's Jason. He's in here. Jason Bateman. So Marty, is that why you're using that name? Do you like that show? Is that why you're using? I just have to ask. So what else, DeCall? What else happened this week other than what we don't want to talk about?
I'm going to tell you, Sean. By the way, if my wife was sitting like right there, my whole perception of the world would be changed.
Well, she's keeping me in check. She's standing right over here.
Well, somebody has to. God knows I tried for a minute.
No. IG Illinois Ghost and Jason Dent did a great Blues Brothers style reboot. They called it. I listened to that whole thing. It was basically their analysis of an old 2010 radio interview. And I noticed some discrepancies too. one that they didn't mention was Forrest saying that he and a friend, what the hell? That Forrest and a mother.
Hello. No, I don't want to buy any fucking
a telemarketer.
later.
No, I do not want this. Answer the phone. Who's calling you?
I took the battery out.
There's probably a battery salesman.
So Forrest, I'm getting right to the good stuff and the damn phone rings. So Forrest mentions that he tripped over a stone marker in the Vietnam. He said it. It wasn't the interviewer. So that's kind of interesting because I thought it was an aluminum marker that he tripped over. And then,
I think he said he came face to face with a crude aluminum grave marker, and that he had stepped over a stone grave marker. I think.
Okay, that
I don't
works.
have the book with me.
Yeah, that actually works. Sure.
Now,
Okay,
is that the video that was actually came out on 25 October of 2010, where he has a radio interview the same day that the book came out? Is that the radio interview they did? I haven't had a chance to watch it because I think it was.
I think they said October 2010 is all I remember of the details about that video.
Then it would have been the 25th, which is when the book first came out, and that was that radio interview. It was a female interviewer, and she obviously the book just didn't come out, so she hadn't had a chance to really flip through it, and was asking a lot of questions that were pretty plainly obvious.
Well, she sounded like she had read the book. She sounded like she had read through the book or seen things in the book. I don't know how thoroughly, but it must have been out. 25th of October, Craig Carter saying. Okay. So I don't know. You guys do your research, find out when that happened. But of course, it's Forrest Fenn speaking, and it's great. It's great original early information. And and IG and Jason mentioned that he didn't stop the lady on when she said it was buried, and he said it was that he hid it. He had hidden it or something like that. So he didn't say that it was buried. Jason's agreeing with me that he and a friend tripped over the markers. But then later in the interview, it sounded like he was referring to the pilot. So the pilot must have got out, and they were worried about flying back. And it seemed like it was. It seemed like they were in a hurry to fly back. Yeah. Interesting.
They wanted to get out of there. What's that, David?
No, I know I would have been in a hurry to get out of there. I mean, holy shit. If you read the story and where they landed, I mean, the difference between Fenn flying over it and the actual description of what it was when he was, boots on the ground. Oh my God. I mean, I can't even believe he actually walked up to the waterfall. I would have been like, yeah, this isn't it. Let's get the hell out of here. I like my life.
Well, doesn't he talk about the fact that he said, hey, this was enemy territory and helicopters make a lot of noise, so that they were kind of in a hurry, that they only stayed there for a few minutes. And then when he tripped over this stone grave marker and came face to face with this aluminum grave marker, he only had a few minutes to read it. And as you look at the picture that's in the Thrill of the Chase, you can see him standing there holding, what is supposed to be this grave marker. And in the background, you can see the Kiowa helicopter that's sitting there with the pilot.
Is it a Kiowa or is it a Bell Huey?
It's a Kiowa. It's a Kiowa.
Okay, because I've flown in the Bells, and man, those bitches are loud. I've rappelled out of those things. Jesus.
Well, you're talking about the UH-1s.
Oh my God, I've got like no hearing from rappelling out of those things. In the 1980s.
Yeah. Nice.
Holy shit, man.
Try jumping out of the back of a CH-47. You want to talk about loud.
Oh, see, and there you go. Thank you very much.
So all three of us are deaf. That's interesting.
Oh, they ain't no shit. That's why I wear this. I can't roll it any other way. Okay, let's talk about.
We're just old. We're not deaf.
Well, that's true too. Fucking.
Well, I got another idea. If I mean, we could talk about anything. I don't care. But I just wanted to ask Sean, what does he think that story in general means, the grave marker, the waterfall, the Vietnam. Is that, I mean, do you want to go there, David? You're shaking your head no, but
no, and it's so general. We can apply it to, because really we're all in this to find the chest. And when we start talking about, what does the waterfall mean? What do those things, and then I reflect back to Fenn going, y'all are hung up on waterfalls,
yeah, that's true.
Is he leading us down a path of this shit don't lead to anywhere, or is he going like, yo, y'all are too close, let's go this way?
Well, I don't doubt that this story is important to him. I mean, he had to tell that story. And then, so does it have anything to do with the game though? Which of the stories has anything to do with hiding the chest,
I think that story, and if we can, I mean, you've got this whole chapter of My War for Me, but the real climax and the real pivotal point of that whole story to me is that him going back and paying homage to that clearing that got him back home. He had told that clearing, look, if you get me home, I promise I'll come down there and visit you. Well, he kept that promise. He went down there and did it. And it was such a poignant moment to him. If this story is believed to be true, and I believe it is. I mean, even if it's fantasy, it doesn't matter. It's still a good story.
Or embellished.
But the story, embellished, absolutely. But it's still a poignant, point in his life that he didn't expect to go down there. He expected to go down there and just see a waterfall and everything else. But to trip over this grave marker and find people that were forgotten, except saved by him now, in his own memory, it stuck in his brain and became, I think, that catalyst that he doesn't want to be forgotten, like these people in that, that war. So, and Nicole, you've gone into this very well and about his legacy. And I think that this is that key trigger in his mind that he doesn't want to be forgotten like those people in that field. And that's kind of what the book is really about, and his stories about him. Now, the treasure story could be a completely different thing. This is his giving back. It's getting us all thinking. It's getting us all out there in the Rocky Mountains and all those types of things. But that pivotal moment in his life of him thinking he's going to go down to this beautiful place with this 100-foot tall waterfall and everything else. And he gets down there. And like he says in the book, the geography is completely different than what he expected. Sure. And he was kind of disappointed in something that he thought was so whimsical. And then we get all wrapped around, oh my God, the waterfall's got to be water high. Not saying it's not, but we start taking all these symbolical things and thinking, oh, he's hinting at a waterfall is water high. And who's to say he's not? But then he tells us in that whole interview with the middle school class, boy, you guys sure seem to be hung up on waterfalls. Stop trying to force, your ideas into my poem or whatever. Even though he planted that idea in our head,
Right. I think you restated it really well, Sean. I think there is an underlying theme of what is my own mortality and my own legacy. When he was sitting on the grave, kids got time to think there. What is he thinking about his own mortality and his own legacy? And same with so these two stories plus there's other indicators of very like him standing in the field of stumps. Those definitely represent his dad's grave, because the number matches.
Well, can I interject something? And I don't want to lose this train of thought, but you brought something up that's really poignant. Because if we look at the front of the Thrill of the Chase, and I think I've talked to this with R.F. Hecky in one of her live videos, and we've mentioned it before, but if you look at the front of the Thrill of the Chase, you have a picture of him when he's a young boy, probably about 7 or 8 years old, which he's got the hat on, he's holding the fish, he's in front of that water sign or whatever. Then you have the picture of him as a probably a teenager in your favorite place to call, that we think is on that whole trip with Donnie, in the Gallatin Mountains, and he's probably 18 or 17 or 18. And then we have him when he's probably in his 30s, standing in front of the aircraft. And I've talked a lot about the Thrill of the Chase is kind of like that coming of age story.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something that he's standing in in the chapter Surviving Myself, he's sitting on a grave marker as a young boy. And then he talks about in My War for Me, tripping over a grave marker. And in the epilogue, the very last chapter we have, like you're talking about the stumps in the field, he's talking about his father and his father passing and everything else. And it's kind of a, an homage to his father. So you've got these three
And his
almost
own,
kind
don't
of,
forget,
graveyard, another graveyard, and death in his father's graveyard.
And his own epitaph. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing.
Yep.
You're
pronouncing it right.
Yeah, I mean, so there's multiple death themes that all relate back to his legacy and just his own mortality, and our own mortality is probably the message here. Anyway,
hey, but wait, can I bring something in here?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so listen, how many of us are using Google Earth to do this search?
Me.
I think all of us probably
every one of us, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's think about Fenn flying over that beautiful waterfall. All right, and it appears to be something different than what it is when we get boots on the ground. How many of you have used Google Earth, then been boots on the ground and gone, holy fuck, that little rock is like my whole house?
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
amazing. So, when I look at that, I just say, like, holy shit, this is kind of what Fenn is telling us. When we're flying over it, when we're looking at Google Earth that we can all fucking share, and we can look at it and we can go like, wow, that's really cool, and hey, that's where it is. And then when we get boots on the ground, we're like, holy fuck, that's not a rock I can trip over. That's a house I can live in. Right? Yeah,
yep.
Maybe. All right.
Yep.
Can we talk about I want to talk about the gorilla in the room, man. Shit, I'm going to get...
I don't see any gorilla in the room. Who's the gorilla in the room?
There is, but they shaved that bitch, and so she looks different. She's got a pearl necklace on and, everything like that. I want to talk about,
I see Minotaur Marino keeps talking about, no pictures of New Mexico, everything else. So, Minotaur, do you believe that the treasure's not in New Mexico? Do you believe because there's no pictures of New Mexico or whatever that it's not in New Mexico? Because he speaks a lot about New Mexico in the book. So I don't know what you're pointing at. That could all be, subjective confirmation bias that it may not be in New Mexico because there's no pictures of it. People think that it may not be in Colorado because he never speaks of Colorado. There's all kinds of things. People think that it's got to be in Wyoming because he speaks so fondly of Yellowstone. There's all kinds of different. We can look at this in different ways. There's so many different ways we can look at it.
We can look at it like this and like this. We can go like that. No, I think it's interesting. We're coming to the very end of a search season. We really are. We're coming to the end. By the way, people, look, if you're going to get out there and search, hypothermia is just as dangerous as being stuck in the snow. Same difference. But hypothermia can set in the fucking 70s. Don't you understand that?
Yeah.
You can be trying to sleep in the back of your truck, and if it's in the 70s and you have absolutely nothing, keeping you warm, you can die. You can die. Don't die because of this stupid ass chest. We're at the end of the season.
We were very fortunate that this year, knock on wood,
so
far we have not had anyone get lost. We've had somebody get lost and walk into Forrest compound, but we haven't lost anybody in the chase. We haven't had anybody, seriously injured or died in this. So that's great. That's good. And we're not at the end of it yet. There's plenty of searchers out there that still think that, they know where it is and are getting out there. But let's think about what we're doing,
I think it is strange that there's so many people overzealously proclaiming that they understand and have it solved, even though they change their solve every week. They still have it solved, and I think a lot of people are spending extra money, losing their job, killing their marriage over this spectacular list of black swans that they have. People have found some very interesting things, But my logic is, okay, you can have this terrific list of spectacular coincidences. Okay, people have found all sorts of things from the book. People have found extremely interesting alignments, okay? And they're like 1 in a million. But the problem is, it's not a big deal to find a 1 in a million coincidence. That's not enough to risk your job over, okay? Because everyone is finding them. It's only the guy that can predict or find the correct 1 in a million, okay? That's the guy that has the right answer. But like I always say, if you line up 999 people, all of them have a different solve. So basically all of them are wrong because they all have a different idea for what's right. So possibly one of them is correct, but probably not. Even these 999 people out of 1,000, they all have a spectacular list of black swans, black swan events. Look that up,
Well, yeah, it's a perfect alignment. We all have this, everybody has this perfect alignment. But what I find out a lot of people are doing, and I did the same thing with my whole Yellowstone solve, is that we keep going outside of the box and looking for historical references. We keep looking at all these coincidences, and everybody thinks that, man, I've got 150 coincidences here. They all line up. I must know exactly where it is. But coincidence never give you any certainty. And I think that, if you go back and you watch, Illinois Ghosts, knowing, his interjection and hijacking of the round table number 4, which we're going to get back into, guys. And he goes into this, this whole knowing. How is it we can go knowingly within to the treasure? How can we have certainty? Everybody wants to line up all these coincidences and think like, DeCall is saying this whole black swan event to know exactly where we're going. I mean, the further you get outside of that box, and that box should be, in my opinion, the poem and then the book. The further you get outside of those, the more coincidences and everything else you're going to find. And they'll line up just like, the 35,000.
Well, let me give you an example, and I'm making this up out of thin air, okay? Let's just say instead of similar to what Jason Dent found out there, let's say you found a piece of wood that was exactly the same shape as the running man, that's carved on Forrest Fenn's tree. To me, it reminds me of the sock that looks like Abraham Lincoln, or the piece of toast that has Mother Maria on there, or okay.
I ain't bidding on that shit.
Yeah, well, it happens spontaneously out there, and they're not miracles. The sock shaped like Abraham Lincoln is just what we want to see in the sock. Now, no one would have predicted that sock would land at that address. It is a black swan event because it's 1 in a million. It's 1 in a million, but the Abraham Lincoln sock, was not predictable, was nothing you could have planned for. So people are finding these Abraham Lincoln Forrest Fenn socks out there, and they're calling it a correct solve. That's what's crazy.
Hey, I enjoy everybody. I enjoy everybody that's out there chasing whatever they want to chase, because I'm going to tell you what, when I was in Yellowstone, I had a fucking ball. I saw some shit in Yellowstone that I would have never seen in my life if I had not have gone to Yellowstone.
Yeah, Yellowstone is really cool.
Oh, it's beautiful. In my opinion, the chest is not in Yellowstone.
Didn't your life get saved by some sandwiches and tweakers, David?
Oh my God. Yes. Thank you. I took a tumble. You're not my size. Oh my God. No, I was going down this steep ass hill down to a Cascade Creek, to be honest with you. And I literally did like a tumble. And in my backpack, I had our entire lunch: peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, Little Debbie snack cakes, and I landed on that. It was like a fucking airbag. Bam! And I'm going to tell you what, man, we ate some smashed ass Little Debbie snack cakes and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And I was glad they were there. The chest ain't there. but God damn it, I ate some smashed ass peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and Little Debbie's decades. Thank you for reminding me, Sean, because God was looking out for me that day.
God saved you.
He did. God saved me, man. And you know what's funny? I had my GoPro. I didn't know how to use that fucker. The GoPro was on, man. And it's like my kids laughed and laughed and laughed. Oh my God.
David Jr. will be telling that story to your grandkids.
Yeah, can you get us?
Thank God. I hope so.
I want a copy of that. Yeah, I want to see that.
Oh my God. It's like this world was like, and you landing like, oh, I'm alive. Next. Come on, man. Okay, so like, look.
That's awesome.
Let me get like shitty off the trail here. Bill Gorman's in the room. I love Bill Gorman. Okay, man. Bill Gorman just entertains the living shit out of me. Okay. I've got some stuff I'd love to send him to run through his little art program and stuff.
Yeah, there we go.
Really need, to be beautiful because it's beautiful.
Rainbow effect.
Oh my God. It's amazing, right? All of us should just go like, oh, fuck. If I was behind his RV, I'd probably be running the back of his RV. But anyway, Bill's in the room. I love Bill. I hope that none of us have any hardcore shit against Bill. Let's just love on Bill. Sean made right with Bill. I never had a problem with Bill because I love Bill for who he is, what he does. It's the shit. You know what I'm saying? Maybe one day I'll be out there living like Bill and talking shit like Bill.
Yeah, go see Bill's reply. That's fantastic.
Oh my God, I watched it.
I want 5,000 views on that.
Oh my God, it was hilarious. This shit was hilarious.
I love that.
Nicole, you are one big fucking hat wearing turd, motherfucker.
That's right.
Anyway. The Bill's here, and he handled you just right, okay? But
come on.
It
doesn't. Oh man, anybody can get up there and say "f you" 20 times in a row. That's not that intellectual.
Bill is the physician. So anyway, beyond that, let's talk about shit searchers don't know that searchers need to know. Ooh, it's a hard place to get to, but please, can we get there?
Well, Minotaur Moreno, my boots on the ground. I got hissed at by a mountain lion in a tree who wasn't happy and ran smack dab into a grizzly nest. Terrifying. Wow, that's pretty good luck, brother. You found the mountain lion in a grizzly nest. Isn't it a grizzly den?
And then he found the butt crack.
He did. He found the Homer Brown.
Cheers, Justin.
The Homer Brown.
Yeah. Oh Minotaur Marino's book will be Pussy, Bears, and Butt Crack. Oh my.
Oh my. Oh no.
Oh jeez.
Are we not going to get where I need to be? I don't know.
No. What do you want to say, David? You were saying go.
All right, so listen. Everybody out there in Fenn Tuberland, man, I shouldn't have drank this much before I got going. But sometimes that shit happens when you've been on vacation in Vegas. I didn't bring back any smoke or anything. But anyway, listen. There's information out there that I want to get out to y'all that most searchers don't have, and I've got to kind of break this to y'all. When Forrest Fenn starts talking to searchers that visit him at his house, sometimes he gets carried away and he tells them a little bit of something, a little something that he probably shouldn't say. And because I invested a lot of money that I really shouldn't have invested in this search, and I know that a lot of you are investing money in this search that you probably don't have because you believe that you're going to recover a chest. I want you all to have this information. So Forrest Fenn has said to a searcher, I will not name names, that as far as it goes, put in below the home of Brown, wait a minute, help me, Sean. Begin at where warm waters halt. is a thermal
feature.
item,
Yeah.
okay? Thermal feature. So if your begin at where warm waters halt is not a thermal feature, you need to forget it. If you can't put your foot in it,
Your
and it's
toe
not,
in the water or something like that.
Thank you, sir. If you can't put your toe in the water and it's not warm, it's not begin at where warm waters halt. Okay. The home of brown has absolutely nothing to do with brown trout. Okay. So
where did you get that one from? I mean,
Sean, you're going to have to help me with that one.
Well, okay. I mean, Sean,
I'm not naming names.
Sean,
no. You don't have to name any names, but you just got to help me. I think it came from beep, 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 beep. Okay. So look, throw your money where you want to throw your money, but there's no brown trout. Okay. The other thing that you all need to know.
Well, hang on. Like, I thought the reason brown trout is not in the poem is because of grammar, that capital B cannot be a brown trout.
Well, you could think all you want, and that was besides what Forrest Fenn had said. What Forrest Fenn had said was that brown had nothing to do with brown trout. And that's
who did he say that to? When did he say that?
I'm not. Listen, white man, I'm not naming names. Okay, white man in a brown hat. I'm not naming names.
Well, I've heard the same rumors.
Okay, good.
As long as you've been in the game.
Look, that's great. You can either stick to it or do what the fuck you want. I don't care.
Okay. They're just rumors. They're just. But
great. It's not a rumor.
People are looking.
Throw your goddamn money away.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Here's the problem.
There's no problem, white man.
There's a problem because you're not citing anything. I can cite the TOEIC.
That's great. That's great. When you all went round and round with Toby last fucking week or whatever it was, nobody had shit to cite except what Toby said to somebody else. All right. And that's what the fuck I'm citing. All right. So you listen to me. You shut the fuck up. You got it? You got it?
Dude, no, I don't got it. No, I don't got it. I'm asking.
All right.
Dude,
I'm not naming fucking names.
Don't be mad. I'm
not naming. You want me to name names?
It's kind of like our homework, schoolwork. Okay, you got to cite a reference.
Look, no. Because I've been not permitted.
Here's the deal with the deal with brown trout, guys.
Okay,
is that
you're not permitted
if you
to
pay
name
attention to the if you pay attention to the grammar in it and you understand grammar, if you believe, and I believe that grammar is true to that, you will understand that the reason why brown is capitalized is for a very specific reason. It is capitalized because it is a proper noun that can only speak to a proper name, like a person's name, or a specific geographical location. A species name has nothing to do with that. And I know I've gone over this.
But David's saying that Forrest said to somebody, and that's
the point is, no, that's not exactly true. It's not exactly
What's
true.
not true?
I'm not trying to diss David. Forrest never said according, and this is where rumor, hearsay, and innuendo become very unimportant. Well, hold on, David. Now, I'm not saying what you are citing that a specific person told you about thermal waters. I understand the story about the whole brown trout and how that got misconstrued. It got misconstrued because it was a post that Stephanie Longacre put over on Chase Chat about a bunch of things that were said to specific searchers in confidence or whatever with Forrest Fenn and then came back out. It's not necessarily true because I went directly to that source and asked that specific question. And that specific question was that a searcher was having a conversation with Forrest Fenn, and they were citing that their home of brown was specifically associated with a brown trout spawning area. And Forrest Fenn shook his head, no. Never said it had nothing to do with brown trout, but was shaking his head as in no. And that person, made the assumption that it had nothing to do with brown trout.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that second-hand hearsay got passed on to Stephanie Longacre somehow, and then Stephanie Longacre posted a post on Chase Chat saying brown had nothing to do with brown trout. That's not specifically what Forrest Fenn said. This is why it's so dangerous for secondhand information. And I know what David's saying, and I'm not lessening anything David's saying about something completely different. I'm talking specifically about the brown trout thing.
Sure.
Now, if you pay attention to just the words in the poem and you understand grammar, and I can't prove that grammar is the right way to interpret this. This is just the method that I use. That brown, as why it's capitalized, if you're going by the specifics of grammar, does not allude to a species name. It only as a proper noun, and why it is capitalized. Again, people could go in, well, he told Chicago Dave whose rules, and you can go into that. I'm not going to go into that.
Yeah.
But just sticking with just the words in the poem and why brown is capitalized at the end of a sentence is because it can only be a proper noun, and that is why it's capitalized. It can only be a surname or a geographical location if you stick with the rule of grammar. So I mean, guys,
so I mean, I can't quit simply because it doesn't fit the rules of grammar, and because somebody said it has nothing to do with brown trout. That might be true, but I can't quit because of that. I really can't.
Yes,
but David, you were going to say another. You were going to. I don't know if you lost your train of thought, but you were going to mention another item.
And then the other item is the fact that the illustrations in the book hold absolutely no hints or clues, and that any of you that are going by the illustrations in the book, and DeCall, I was with you for a long time on the the gypsies dancing around the fire and Fenn or the supposed Fenn being at 2:00. I thought that was really interesting, but then when Fenn came out and basically said, look, they have absolutely no hints or clues, I was like, wow, okay, they have no hints or clues. What I want to get across here is, because I spent a lot of fucking money and a lot of time on bullshit, okay, shit that wasn't true, and I don't want anybody else in the community to spend their dollars and their time on looking for something that isn't, if your warm waters isn't, if you stick your fucking foot in it and it's not warm, you're wrong. Move on to something the fuck else. Don't put your treasure and your time into that shit. All right. If you're looking at the book and you're thinking that some of these illustrations hold fucking clues, you're wrong. Move the fuck on. Fenn himself has said this to fucking people. Brown has nothing to do with trout. If you think that AGKKKKKKK folded because of the fucking anything else, he folded because of money, and he folded because he understood that his goddamn search was wrong. He spent 5 fucking years after those goddamn trout, and he realized, because goddamn K-Pro had the real fucking answer that Fenn told her, okay, that the warm waters was if you put your fucking foot in it. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to fold up fucking shop and you're going to go the fuck home. All right? That's the answer.
Maybe
all right?
He'll tell us tomorrow night or whenever he comes on.
Listen, here's what I'm telling you. Spend your fucking dollars where your dollars need to be spent. I see people out there going, oh my God, I can't stand this shit. Let's fold. Let's find this fucking treasure. Please, somebody, find this motherfucking treasure. Let's end this shit. All right? There's information out there that people have that you don't have. I just gave you everything that I have, and I want you to find this treasure. It's not a level playing field. It's not a fair fucking game.
Yeah, and I'm just as passionate. You guys have heard me go off on people, saying the same thing. Don't waste your money. Don't blow your marriage. Don't kill your cars, your 7 cars and your 7 jobs. Just try and
I'm done, by the way.
Retain some sanity about this game, because your black swan list is not worth your job or your marriage. Okay. Yes, you have a spectacular list, but you got to keep realizing that mathematically you don't have the correct solve. Okay. So yes, that's the humility and the balance it's going to help you maintain in this game. We all think we have a good solve, a correct solve, or a very good, some good ideas. And we can't all be right. In fact, 99% of us are wrong. Somebody's right out there, and Forrest Fenn is not going to tell us who's right. So now it's down to just logic,
Yep. Outcast Searcher wants me to name names. I'm not going to fucking name names. I can't.
You just named them. You just named them about the toe in the water. Is that the story you?
No, did I name names? But anyway, look, y'all, I watched. I was out of town when Sasha was on. Some people might have wanted to cry bullshit with Sasha. Let me tell you something. I'm not a big fan of Sasha Johnson. Okay, not my kind of girl. That's fine. But what she had. Look, I'm fucking telling you the truth. God
You're gonna
damn it,
get your ass whipped.
I don't fucking care. I don't fucking really. But anyway, listen.
She's our friend. She's our friend.
That's right. But you all go back and you listen to what she had to say. The woman told you the truth, okay? The woman told you the truth on that goddamn show last week. Now, everybody's probably pissed off at me that I brought this shit up again, and I'm terribly sorry, but I want to level the playing field. You know, look, if your warm waters aren't, you can stick your toe in it, it ain't right, because Forrest Fenn has told the person that told me. All right. I'm not going to fucking tell you who it was unless I have to. If they want to be a fucking little bitch about it, I'll tell you. You know, the fact of the matter is that, you know what, the home of Brown. Well, I can't really do the home Brown. I'm done. I got to stop there. I really got to stop there. I'm going to start like.
Well, yeah, because then you got to start discussing why or why not your warm waters halt you can put your toe in there and feel a little warm water.
It better be warm waters. Where do they halt?
Yeah, and I like that reasoning. Like I say, I mean, I've said many shows. Okay, people's got to figure out what their founding principles are. What do you base the solve on? Sean has eliminated noise and canceled out the books and burned the books. I mean, you know, to me, I think it's valuable information. But and don't get me wrong, Sean reads the books. You know, Sean listens to the videos.
I do not, you know, and some of this information that came to light that David's talking about, the conversation I had with David is that this information does not affect our solve. And David, I think we can agree that we don't give a shit about what warm water salt is, do we?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, well, we don't care. Our whole point is that we understand.
If you stick your toe in it, then you've defined where warm waters halt a lot more specific than 90% of the people out there. I mean, if you're agreeing with that, if you're
look, they can all agree with what they want to agree. I've just felt so guilty over the last couple of months because I knew what I knew. And I know that people out there are working for $8, $9, $10, $11, $12 an hour. They're fixing cars, they're blowing up cars, they're doing all this shit based on lies, and because other people that have money and because they have influence and because they have an in with Fenn are able to get additional information. You know, that's bullshit, man. Let's level the fucking playing field, DeCall. You know what? Let's be honest with ourselves. Let's level the fucking playing field, man.
Well, okay, I agree with you that
the only person that can level this playing field is Forrest Fenn. It's not us searchers that can level it. I mean, even if David and I were to tell you, you know, our search state, our specific geographical region, 99% of you might even disagree with that, and we can't even prove we're right. I mean. No, I mean, even if I've said this a million times, if Forrest Fenn came in here using a pseudonym and gave us the correct solve, 99% of us would probably downplay it. Yeah, so the only person that can really level the playing field is Forrest Fenn himself. Nothing that I tell you, DeCall tells you, David tells you, anybody else tells you is leveling the playing field. None of us can do that. The only person that can do that is Forrest Fenn himself. A lot of this stuff we hear that is secondhand information, firsthand information, even going to Forrest Fenn himself, stuff that you say or that he says to you, you can interpret completely the wrong way. You know, it's because it's based on your bias and your preconceived beliefs. Again, confirmation bias is the tendency to interpret new information as confirmation of pre-existing beliefs. If you sit down with Forrest Fenn and he tells you, well, if you tip your toe in there, was it warm? And then all of a sudden you believe that, oh my God, I didn't tip my foot in that water. I don't know if it's warm. And then you believe all of a sudden he's telling you that warm water's halt has to do something with actual physical warm water. And then you put that out there. We may be misleading people. And I don't want to do that. I get where everybody's coming
confirmation
David,
bias.
I know where you're coming from. I know.
Yeah, I don't believe
confirmation
I
bias.
don't believe that if you're taking the shit directly from Forrest Fenn and you're taking it to whomever they're speaking to and you're putting it out there, I don't think you're misleading anybody. RF Hecky.
Yeah, but we don't understand
RF Hecky said she doesn't believe a damn word out of my mouth. That's great. RF Hecky, put your fucking money into those goddamn drawings. Do your little shit. I love your fucking videos. But guess what? Your ass ain't never finding the fucking treasure. Okay? I'm trying to level the playing field. I don't want you to spend your goddamn money on shit that ain't true. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm not naming names. I'm telling you what the fuck I know without telling you who fucking told it to me. And you want to go in a different direction? Great. Spend your fucking money. Make your goddamn videos. I love your fucking videos. But guess what? You're wrong.
Guys, we cannot. The problem is that we don't understand the context. There's people that put information out there about very derogatory things about the architect of this poem. Okay. But we don't have the complete context of that information. Any information they put out there could be totally tailored to the narrative that they want you to read. Now, each and every one of us, myself included, and DeCall, are competitors in this. Okay. Yep. I love DeCall. He's a good friend of mine. We share a lot of information. We talk back and forth. But DeCall is technically a competitor. Every one of you in the chat rooms, we're all competitors in this. We're not going to give you our best information. And any potential information we give you could be potentially misleading because we don't want you to find it. We want to find it. So we're just sitting here chatting and we're putting out information, guys. You got to do verifications and think for yourselves. So any information that I get secondhand from somebody that I believe is, on Toby's scale of FM 22-200, interrogation that we saw in the Toy Story when inside that little crate, it could be an A1, could be an F5. We don't know that you can trust that person that's giving you that information because they technically are a competitor of yours. So you have to research for yourself. And that's why, guys, in this show, we talk about anything and everything. We talk about stuff that's outside of the book. We talk about the poem, everything else. But in my opinion, as a poem purist, and I know I get beat up a lot for this, is that I have the belief and faith that everything I need to know to find that treasure, all the information I need is wholly contained within those 166 words. Everything outside of that could just be potentially noise. Even everything we're talking about in this show tonight can be potentially noise that can, mislead you and misdirect you. And I know you're all smart enough. You're all common sense individuals. You can think for yourselves. You have to think for yourselves. You have to, go back to the basics of that poem and go back into the box. Stick with the book. Stick with the poem. All this secondary information that we're talking about that could be hearsay, could be directly from Fenn. We don't understand the complete context of that information. We weren't there. We weren't a fly on the wall. And as much of that information could be true, we don't know how to validate that. We have no way of validating it. Guys, I don't know how to say that more clearly.
I don't have a problem if Forrest Fenn has published his contact information from day one. Okay. So that allows for correspondence with Forrest Fenn. So if correspondence is involved and he tells you whatever the hell he wants to tell you, okay, if he likes you, doesn't like you, invites you, doesn't invite you to meet him for lunch, to meet at the bookstore, to meet at his house. I mean, that's probably going to be a very rare event from now on based on current events.
Very rare.
Yeah. People should not expect that, but his email is still well published, so I don't see any problem with any supposed advantage. Forrest Fenn can do whatever he wants with the information that he has in his head. He can tell Sean tomorrow where the treasure is. He could. If he wants to tell Sean or David or Sasha or anybody where the treasure is, he can do that. He has absolute power in this game. Is it right or wrong? I don't know. There's a lot of things that are right and wrong. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't call it.
You're hitting on something. DeCall, you're hitting on something that my wife has brought up the last few days, and she's mentioned this a few times, and she's over here talking to some friends, but I thought she's going to bring it up in the chat room tonight. She has said, if you're in a private conversation with Forrest Fenn, and Forrest Fenn tells you, DeCall, the treasure chest is located here. Go here, go get it. Are you going to use that information to call, or are you going to tell everybody that? If you're in a private conversation with Fenn and he says, you know what, fuck it, DeCall, I'm completely tired of this. You know, I want somebody that I like, that I appreciate to find this. DeCall, you're my guy. Go here, go retrieve it. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Well, if he told me that, I would just say, really, I would ask him, are you serious? Because if it isn't in my solve or very close to it, I don't want that. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Give it to somebody else, because I don't want that shit. I know it sounds crazy, but I wouldn't be excited about a freebie, okay? I mean, sure, if you want to hand me the peace pipe, okay, if you want to hand me Sitting Bull's peace pipe, I am totally freaking fine with that, okay? Hand me something else off your wall that's worth $1 million. I'm fine with that. That's out of friendship. But the treasure, no, I would love it if Forrest would tip his hat my way and say, okay, Mini Lake is a great solve. You ought to go look a little more seriously. I would be fine with that information. Maybe he has his own personal greedy reasons to accelerate the game. I think Forrest should tell the 200-foot searcher to stick it out or concentrate a little more deeply on a line of the poem or something. Doesn't mean he has given away the solve. He's like, just study the sixth stanza. You know, DeCall, study the sixth stanza. Or he told Becky, West Virginia, don't go to Colorado. But he knew where her search area was. He knew the dangerous conditions that she was facing, and he knew her past history. And he was concerned for her safety, and he told her not to go. Now, maybe she'll be mad at me for saying that, but Forrest Fenn has told people not to go, more than one person. Okay, he has. And that's not the same as telling somebody where the chest is. I think that's very honorable of Fenn to say, please don't hurt yourself going here during this time period in that specific place. I like that. But fine if Forrest wants it. I mean, I think, like, let's say somebody has the correct solve. I think they've mostly earned it, you know. But if you're wasting money, let's just say IG, Illinois Ghost. I mean, he's gone through some cars. I don't feel sorry for him at all. That's what he's choosing to do. He's a great guy. We love that friggin' guy, Illinois Ghost. Okay, but it would be wrong of Fenn probably to tell him personally. So it gets kind of complicated for Forrest Fenn too, you know. It does get complicated because Forrest Fenn can't give anyone an advantage, and they have to. Obviously, somebody has not finished solving the poem. There must be some parts that are unsolved, and so that makes us all unworthy of the chest. Okay. I
think people in this room need to ask them that question. You know, if like my wife says, if you had a private one-on-one conversation with Forrest Fenn at his home and he told you where the treasure chest was, what would you do? Would you physically go get it, or would you tell everybody? And again, it's like when you're with Forrest Fenn and you interpret him telling you something that you think is key, what do you do with that information? You know, do you share it? Do you hold it to yourself? I mean, what do you do with that information? You know, I don't believe Forrest Fenn is ever going to give us any other information. I think Forrest Fenn has told us everything he needs to do. Like he said, I think I've ran out of words, you know, try and simplify. You know, all the information is in the poem, or all the information you need to find the treasures in the poem. Nobody has any secret information on where the treasure is located. It's all in the poem for everyone to see. I mean, everything's right there. He's told us.
I think he's said enough to solve this thing. That's what it totally feels like to me. That's what basically what he's saying in the different quotes about this game that he's given enough information. It's there. Only thing left is for us to think about the ideas and formulate some opinions and not get too far out there, you know?
Yeah. And that's just it. You know what, like you say, don't get too far out there, but what is too far out there? You know, what is outside the box? You know, what is that box that he tells us? And for me, I think that box is wholly contained with no further than outside that book, you know, and to me, it's even more narrowly focused to just focus on the poem. And opinions vary. And again, you know, it's, you know, are the hints vital and trying to figure out, you know, the correct starting point? I don't believe they are. I think that you can figure out the correct starting point without, you know, the book. I think that the poem alone can tell you the correct general area, you know, the correct starting point to figure this thing out. Sure. Can the hints in the book help you? Yeah. But how do you, again, I've said this, I don't know how many times, how do you isolate what a subtle hint is or a subtle clue is within 28,000 words in that book, you know, without allowing your preconceived biases to make you believe that that is actually one of them? It's almost ass backwards. I've said that I don't know how many times, and God, it's like repeating myself throughout several different videos. I know, but
well, you know, if two people had the correct solve, you know, or within striking distance, as Forrest has said before, then Forrest really can't reveal or tip his hat to either person, because now it's a true and fair contest between those two people, and they obviously don't know it, or they would be there 24 hours a day fighting with the snow or the mud or whatever, and you know, finding a way to solve this poem quickly. You know, there's something that we're all missing. We're missing the final details. We're never going to be sure about actual confirmation, the realistic, legitimate confirmation, or I mean, I can't think of a single thing in this game that had not a single line in the poem that has been confirmed, solved, or even understood to be solved. What could that possibly be? Because most of us differ so thoroughly on like too far to walk. Just that line, too far to walk, I believe it's 10 miles of river spoken of. You would never agree with that, literally. Sure, it's a fine point of comparison, but it's not the literal answer to too far to walk, the 10 miles of river. I think it is confirmation, but my opinion differs greatly from the next 49 people in the room, you know?
Yep. Now, Outcast Searcher tells me, you know, flip side, what would you do? And Outcast Searcher, I'm wondering if you're talking about, if Forrest Fenn told me where the chest was, I would tell everybody, because to me, this is about the thrill of the chase. It's about matching wits with Forrest Fenn. It's not about the monetary value of that treasure. My wife's sitting over here. After this, she's probably going to kick me because she's like, that thing's worth $2 to $10 million. Why would you do that? But
yeah, but then
at the same time, this is
you're making it a foot race. You're making it a foot race.
I would tell everybody, make it a foot race, because I don't think, even if you know the correct general area, Forrest Fenn told me it is located in Kerwin, you know, Wyoming. Okay. Yeah. Everybody, it's in Kerwin, Wyoming. Let's make this a rat race all the way to Kerwin, Wyoming. We still got to uncover where it's at in Kerwin. We still got to, uncover.
There's a third option, Sean. There's a third option. You can keep quiet.
Okay. What?
If it's not in your solve, let's just assume that Kerwin, Wyoming is not your correct solve, so you could keep it quiet. You could know where this treasure is, and then honorably, you should just quit and keep it quiet. Let him cheat. Okay. Somebody else.
Okay. I'll go down that line of thinking, DeCall. I keep it quiet. I know that the treasure's in Kerwin, Wyoming, right? Because Forrest Fenn told me with 100% doubt that it's there. Okay, no joke. He's not joking with me. He says on my daughter's life, whatever, that it's there. Okay. If I don't tell anybody, what happens if we lose another searcher?
Oh yeah.
Who does that
Okay.
fall on?
I like
That
that.
falls
I like
on
that.
that not only falls on Forrest, that falls on me.
Yep.
I've got to
Yep.
live with that for the rest of my life. So
Yep. I
no,
like that.
I'm going
I
to tell
agree with you.
everybody.
I agree
Forrest
with you.
Fenn told me it's in Kerwin. I don't want anybody to waste, like David is saying, waste any more of their hard-earned treasures and time and dollars looking for this treasure somewhere where
Yep.
it's not in Kerwin. And I don't want somebody else losing their life. I'm going to tell them it's there, because if somebody else is wasting thousands of their dollars and wrecking their
Yep.
marriages, losing their mortgage on their home, losing their job, wrecking another car, whatever
Yep.
else,
Yep.
I'm going to feel responsible for that.
I got to tell you, I agree with that.
There's no
That's
way.
brilliant. Yeah.
There's just no way. And now
Yeah.
Marty Bird said just before Outcast Searchers said, then why write the book? Okay. We all know that the poem's purpose is to what? Is, like it says, is to lead one of us, to the exact precise location of the book, of the treasure. So what is the purpose of the book? To me, the purpose of the book, Marty, is that vessel to get his message out there, to get the treasure story, to get, the poem out there, the instructions to find the treasure. The book is nothing more than a series of stories written by a man who's lived life well. And he's trying to pass on these stories. And I think that these stories hold lessons, life lessons, that he wants to pass on. But he's not just giving us the answers to these life lessons. He's not just telling us, hey, money is not everything. Family is everything. Well, that whole chapter, the epilogue, talks about that. Not having a great education or having a great education is not guaranteed that you're going to be famous or successful. Important literature teaches us that story. There's so many different lessons scattered throughout the stories of that book that we overlook because most of us are so overly focused on the monetary gain of that treasure that we're just trying to dig through there and find these subtle hints that we overlook. In my opinion, what is the overarching message that this man who has lived an amazing life is trying to pass on to us? And that may be whimsical to some of you, and some of you may go, oh, that's freaking bullshit. And that's fine. It's just my opinion, and that's how I see it. I look at the book as the vessel that he needed to get that treasure story out there. He was looking for a way to put it out there. And I've talked about this. You can go watch my video that's Message in a Bottle, and I talk a lot about that and elaborate on it. You can go look at that. And
well, I tend to think I give a little more value to the book than you do. You and I have talked about it a lot. I tend to think there is, nobody disagrees that there's hints in the book. And everybody should have the logic and common sense to realize that we don't know what hints are in the book. We can't point to them. You will never be able to point to the hints in the book. Okay, so how do you deal with that? Basically, you just got to follow your own gut instincts about what do I get from this book? What do I get out of this? I would discourage a bunch of number crunching and, these code breaker style solves. But if that's your heart telling you that, fine, go with the code breaker solve. But I think the best way to find a correct solve is to emulate Forrest Fenn's personality as best as you can. Put yourself in his shoes and try and feel what he feels, understand what he feels the best you know how. To me, that's the only way to understand the book and get helpful hints out of it. Of course, we're going to have confirmation bias. We're going to have a confirmation bias in every single location. Everyone will suffer from it. It's impossible to avoid. You cannot avoid, confirmation bias because our brain is set to make sense of things. Kind of like that movie, A Beautiful Mind. That guy was brilliant. He definitely had the code breaking skills, but his mind was finding patterns in unnecessary ways and places that nearly ruined his life. You guys go watch that, A Beautiful Mind. I thought that was a great analogy to this Forrest Fenn game because we're all finding this spectacular list of black swans and it's driving some people crazy, like A Beautiful Mind. And the guy eventually overcame his ghosts, his phantom menaces, and he overcame it with very careful, logical thought.
Well, let's talk a little bit about confirmation bias here, and I'm going to bring something up, and it's just to give you an example of what confirmation bias is. Let's take this whole recent map auction that went on.
Yeah,
okay?
That was good.
And okay, Mike did his video where he gave out his explanation of everything that went on with the map auction. Okay, now Mike said something that was very that I completely agree with at the very beginning of his video, and he said, listen guys, if you don't like me at the end of this video, it's not going to change your mind. You already, and what that means is you already have, if you don't like me, or if you don't like Mike, or you don't like the caller, you don't like David, or you don't like anybody else, nothing that we say is going to change that, because your mind is already set and already have this bias that a person is either good or bad in this. Now, if you believe, Mike has nefarious intent, anything about that auction that went down, you're going to believe that it was completely of nefarious intent without looking at all the other information that Mike was putting out there of the intent of what they wanted to do. Now, I believe that Mike and K-Pro's intent, was good, that they were trying to do a good thing. The problem is that the timing of it and the perception of it by some in the chase community was that it was for this reason, and they couldn't get that out of their mind, and I think it's very unfortunate that anytime, confirmation bias is defined as the tendency to interpret new information as confirmation of pre-existing beliefs. So if you already believe that Mike is all in it for the money, you're going to look at that thing and go, oh my God, here is another thing Mike's doing all for the money. But you're going to avoid, or you're going to overlook all the other good stuff that Mike and K-Pro were trying to do for that thing. And I think it was unfortunate. I think that the timing of it and the optics of it, again, perception is 9/10 of reality, that was a negative thing. And I feel bad for them. I think they got a bad rap for the thing.
Is it Sean Martinez? Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he expressed a huge interest in the maps, and I thought he was a good example of, it's easy for somebody not searching in New Mexico to call that confirmation bias. Okay. The set of maps were New Mexico and what else? Colorado?
Yep.
Or Utah?
Colorado and Utah.
Okay. Yep. So, and since Utah is out, Utah still could potentially be Warm Waters Hall or the beginning of the poem. Yep. And lead into the 4 states. But let's just kind of ignore that for a second. So a lot of people, of course, would like to put the treasure in New Mexico or Colorado based on this maps idea. And it, of course, it's interesting. What footnotes did Forrest Fenn put on these maps? What notes did he take? Was there X's, and was there, any kind of dates on the, what could be on those maps? But still, that all ties into confirmation bias. Holy smokes. Let's just guess that Sean Martinez sees an X on that map and then happens to spend thousands of dollars invested in over searching that area where the X is. That's confirmation bias.
Yep.
And no offense.
Well,
Sean,
no, it's the confirmation bias is those people that see the fact that Forrest Fenn in his garage had maps of Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico. Now, if you are a New Mexico or a Colorado searcher, your confirmation bias is like, oh my God, see, I've been right the whole time, because it's the tendency to interpret new evidence as confirmations of pre-existing beliefs. If you already believe that the treasure's in New Mexico or Colorado, you're going to be like, oh, look, you motherfuckers, I told you already, it was in Colorado, New Mexico all the time. While somebody like Joe Lewicki had said very poignantly, and the post on my Facebook page is like, oh, well, that's just confirmation that it's in Wyoming or Montana because he doesn't need those maps or whatever that Joel said. He's in the room. He could probably, correct me on this, but it's funny because
I was thinking the same thing.
He could be just like, well, that's confirmation that it's not in those states. We've already made up our mind. You cannot accept new information and go, oh, well, maybe I'm wrong. You're looking at that information and you're trying to force fit it into why it proves your theory correct or wrong. You're not able to move. And that's why Forrest Fenn has said the treasure is going to be found by somebody who can best adjust to new information coming in. How do you process that information? If you've already made a preconceived belief that you think the word treasures in the first stanza of the poem is a reference to the state of Montana, you're never going to leave that because you already have focused on that. And you're going to look for any information outside of that poem, any kind of, anything in a scrapbook or a weekly word or somebody on a YouTube channel said as confirmation that the treasure is in Montana. Again, a hint of riches new and old. Some people think that's New Mexico.
Yeah.
If you get that in your mind, you're never going to get that out of mind. If you cannot adjust, if you can't burn a book, if you can't burn the thing down and restart and readjust your mind, you may never adjust. And
I have no desire to switch solves. That's what's. Not everybody is like me. Some people, if they get something that cancels their solve, they will move to another solve. I'm not that way. I simply have put my best effort into this spectacular find of mine, an 800-foot salamander, okay, and a floating hat island lake, okay. Whether it's right or wrong, it's good enough for me. I would love to just simply quit the game at this point if it's disproven in any way. I'm not willing to accept what David was saying about the toe. Well, the toe in the water, though, is perfectly fine, aligned with myself.
You're not willing to accept what I have to say?
Because it's hearsay, because it's
not fucking hearsay. Are you willing to accept what Sean had to say about what Toby had to fucking say?
What was that?
About taking K-Pro over to his site and fucking her not being able to be with anybody else?
Well, I don't.
Wait, shut the fuck up. Are you willing to take that as it was? Answer it.
Yeah, because
then fuck you. It's the same fucking thing.
Yeah, but okay.
Brown hat wearing bitch.
David. I can accept.
In my opinion, blah fucking
dude,
blah.
Listen, please listen for a second. Oh, geez. All right, good. I can tell David what I'm saying. I agree with the idea that brown has nothing to do with trout. Okay, I accept what you're saying. Am I willing to quit? I guess not, because I already have acknowledged that weakness, that it could or could not be about brown trout. Sean doesn't agree. Fine. But I am the toe in the water. Hello, David. I got that information from the same source on my own. So it doesn't matter if Sean or David says that information. I already heard it. Okay. That's all I was trying to tell you is I already heard that information from person X, whatever the hell I don't know why it's a secret, but anyway, so David, dude, bro, you're still our team. And I don't know why I'm arguing. We're supposed to argue. I don't accept anybody's bullshit for any reason. Okay. I don't care if you're president of the United States. I don't care if you're ex-president of the United States. I don't care if you're the best welder in town or not. I do my own opinion, okay? And my opinion about toe in the water was that before it was ever spoken. My opinion about brown being about trout was my opinion and still exists as my opinion. I don't even Sean, how do I get some information that cancels out brown trout? David's saying that Forrest Fenn told somebody it's not about brown trout. Now, I heard that was from Stephanie. I heard that was from Cynthia.
Here's what Stephanie posted. Stephanie had posted a bunch of different things that she had heard as secondhand hearsay.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And all that shit. And to call you and I agree upon this. it's secondhand information that we get. The information, yes, that we talked about last week was direct source from a very reliable source, and we're not going down that road. What David is talking about is saying him information he got from a source that is very reliable information. Unfortunately, DeCall, you and I were not privy to that conversation with that said
About the
individual.
brown trout or the toe?
No. About the toe in the water and everything else. That's
right.
secondary information. That does not affect David and I's solve. Okay, because
Right.
I am of the belief, and David and I are of the belief that, you know, where warm waters halt is more important than figuring out what warm waters halt is. And I'm not going to go into the details of why we believe that. It's all in the poem for everybody to see.
Right.
Doesn't make us right. It just makes us. Now, the whole thing about brown trout not being associated with the word brown was secondhand hearsay information that Stephanie had posted coming from a different person. That person I spoke with directly, and where that information came from was with a conversation with Forrest Fenn. And Forrest Fenn was, and again, guys, you have to do your own research. Don't hear what I'm saying. I'm passing on information that I heard secondhand from somebody else. And I don't like sharing this information because it's completely misleading. But because we're talking about it, I'll share it. When I talked to that person directly, what that person shared with me is having a conversation with Forrest Fenn. They said that their home of brown was directly associated with some type of brown trout spawning area. And when that person was saying that, Forrest Fenn was physically shaking their head. No. Never did Forrest Fenn say no, that the home of brown is not that. He was just physically shaking his head no. That person interpreted that as to mean that the word brown in the poem had nothing to do with brown trout. Now, again, that's how dangerous secondhand information can be. And that's why you have to look at it and go, that's hearsay, it's rumor, it's innuendo. You have to completely take it out. Go back to the poem. Forrest Fenn has told us so many times. I've told people to go back to the poem so many times, I don't want to say it again, guys. And again, everybody else that's outside of your small circle of influence and friends, you know, is a competition and could be misleading you, could be providing information. You have to think for yourselves, and that's why.
So Sean, that's perfect. I love your logic. You're laying out the logic, like and the original story and everything in perfect fashion. I love that. That's one of your talents. Okay, and then I'm curious: is David asking me to trust his understanding of a different event that canceled out brown trout? Is David asking me to just trust him that there was a separate event about brown trout that should be taken as fact, as because we're friends or because we're associates? Should I take him at his word because he has a separate event about Forrest Fenn declaring brown, not brown trout?
Listen to everybody. Let me make this perfectly clear to everybody. David Kramer is my search partner. He is my ride or die in this complete thing. I will have that man's back no matter what through this whole thing. Now, David and I have disagreed on several things going throughout this whole chase, and we find a way to make our way through those things and find some common ground in this. That's how we move and we progress through this whole thing. And that's what, you know, even in this show, when we have people on that say things that we don't necessarily agree with. But that's what is this whole, you know, chase is about, is we share ideas and we can disagree and we can debate with each other. Sometimes it definitely gets heated and things are said, emotions run wild, and we say things that you know, we wish we could take back or whatever. But yeah, David and I, like I said, are search partners. We have each other's back, but we don't always agree on everything, guys. And
yeah, that's normal.
David and I are talking about the same exact instance about brown trout. It is secondhand rumor, hearsay, and innuendo. You cannot take that as fact unless you were physically there and heard those things from Forrest. When you relay that information, sometimes you can leave out the context of that whole conversation
Right.
and can make
That's
things
important.
completely wrong.
Sure.
By the
That's-
conversation that David had with this individual that said, you know, what Forrest Fenn questioned that person, did you tip your toes in the water and was it warm? That doesn't necessarily mean that those waters have to be physically warm. None of us, it's no different than, you know, the line in the poem, you know, not far, but too far to walk. Too far to walk is completely a metaphor because it's different from everybody. What is warm to DeCall Thomas as far as temperature may be completely hot to me and maybe completely cold to somebody. It's like if you go out to a Thai restaurant, okay, and you want to eat a certain type of food. What is hot and spicy to you may be completely mild to somebody from Thailand.
Totally.
You know, if you go out and you eat Mexican food, if you have green chili or red chili, there's different levels of hot of green chili. I can tell you that. I can tell you that. You know, it's all relevant.
And
what's
you
warm
were saying,
to one person?
Like when Forrest Fenn was shaking his head, we don't know if that started 10 seconds earlier on a separate comment. We don't know if Forrest Fenn is trying to correct their train of thought on something before brown trout was mentioned. You know, Forrest Fenn could be shaking his head about the general direction of their ideas, you know. So you're right. It's all about the context.
I'm also taking into account the reliability of the information that's coming from that individual that told me that information. You know, I mean, I think that person that told me that complete story is a very credible person. But again, it's secondhand information. And how old is that information? How well do they remember that? So it's not stuff that I want to put out there because it's not provable. And I'm going to go back to a prior life of mine that doesn't make me better qualified than anybody in this chase. But as an analyst, it was very pertinent. If I was to give out information to my frontline troops, I wanted to give them out the best information that would protect their lives or give them the best chance of success in their mission. I don't want to give them information that's just like, well, I fucking think the enemy's over here and I think that they have this kind of weaponry. I want to be able to tell them exactly, or tell them I don't freaking know. I'm going to be truthful to them. It's no different than everybody in when we're doing the show. I'm trying to give you the best information and as truthful as I can without trying to mislead people. Yes, you're all my competition, but I'm trying to be truthful and honest in everybody. And it's hard to try and, you know, okay, yeah, we heard this, but guys, it's hearsay and rumor and innuendo. And that's why go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm just kind of thinking, David was upset because we're not accepting his, I'm not necessarily rejecting his opinion of brown trout.
No.
The warm water thing, I'm not concerned about because it fits my solve, which also could be confirmation bias. So let's push the warm water toe in the water issue aside because my solve fits that perfectly. So I don't care about that, which is crazy. But okay, the brown trout issue, I still don't understand. What am I taking as Bible, you know, about brown trout?
Yeah.
Did Forrest Fenn ever actually say it has nothing to do with brown trout? And I love your military analogy, but if a good military leader would just focus on the actual data, because there's many decisions that were made in history that was interpretation of data and they had it wrong. They interpreted one movement of troops here or one movement of planes or ships here as the wrong thing. It could have been a decoy. Now, I'm not suggesting Forrest Fenn is leading us astray, but there's many different variations on interpretation, but there's only one truth. You know, does Homer Brown have anything to do with brown trout? Or what is the Homer Brown? That's what we're after. What is the true?
The problem is how do we get wrapped up in brown trout? Why is it everybody's so wrapped up in brown trout? Why is that?
Well, pick any line of the poem. We're looking for confirmation.
No, what? Okay, no. Why is everybody wrapped around brown trout? Why is everybody so wrapped around brown being brown trout? Where is that coming from?
Well, for me, I'm following watered down. I've literally attached the entire second, third, fourth stanza to water.
Why is it about fish? Why is it about fish?
That's my own interpretation. Brown equals brown trout.
Why is it about fish?
Because his book shows a bunch of brown trout everywhere. So it's in context of the book.
Okay. Stop right there. Why is everybody so wrapped around waterfalls?
Yeah, probably because of the context of the story in the book. Yeah, one or more stories in the book.
Again, it's the ever consummate salesman in Forrest Fenn. You know, it's you go back to that whole Experience Skinner story that you can find over at Dow Neitzel's site. It wasn't how special that knife was. It was how special he could make us think it was.
Yeah.
We are overthinking this. We get so wrapped up around a waterfall because he mentions a waterfall and a very poignant story in the thing. So we think water high is a waterfall. He talks about, you know, fishing for fish all the time and trout and everything else. So we automatically assume brown is brown trout. We are making these assumptions. We get this confirmation bias in our head and we get stuck with that without, you know, sticking, in my opinion, with just the evidence that is provided. So I wrote a poem containing 9 clues that, if followed precisely, will lead to the end of my rainbow and the treasure. The purpose of the poem is to lead us to the treasure. What is the purpose of the book? You know, is it to provide us subtle hints, or is it to be the vehicle that leads us to the that gives us the poem?
And so,
and I think we just get over wrapped up around this.
Yeah, every single person's solve. I love what you're saying. Every single person's solve is like a tree, and we take the first word, and one person branches this way on the second word, and third word, and fourth word, and it branches all different. There's thousands and thousands of possible solutions, millions and billions of possible solutions to Forrest Fenn's treasure. And that's why every single person I've ever met in this game has basically a different solve. There's many people in the same spot for different reasons. They have a different warm water halt. They have a different home of brown, but they're in the same spot. Now, on the other hand, there's many people that believe Madison Junction is where warm water's halt, but yet every other word or line in the poem leads them a different direction, upstream, downstream, away from the river, you know, every possible direction, like this branching tree. And so we're looking in the book for some sort of coordination, some sort of, you know, I can't believe I can't think of the word, but basically the book gives us this stage and this story in order to interpret the poem. And you don't even want to go that far. You just want to take the poem at face value. It's context is the word I was looking for. How much context of this Forrest Fenn's books do you want to accept? I mean, do you think you have any context for The Thrill of the Chase book itself? I mean, you're not really taking any of it, are you? For content? I mean, I don't want to go into your solve. I'm just thinking, yeah, I guess it gets.
I'm running on the belief, as a poem purist, that I have the belief and faith that the man is being honest with us, that the man has told us all the information we need to find the treasure is within the poem. Now, that is completely outside of the book. That's completely outside of the poem. But if he has told us, so I wrote a poem containing 9 clues that, if followed precisely, will lead to the end of my rainbow and the treasure. So the poem's purpose, just those 166 words, if followed precisely, will lead me to the poem. So I'm just focusing on those words. And the further that I get away from those words in that poem, the more my bias, my previous experiences and life experiences will lead me to believe that information outside of that, historical references, these subtle clues sprinkled in the stories, are supposed to lead me to the treasure. No, all it is those 166 words. And guys, I can't go into it, but there's words within that poem that you're overlooking, that are everybody's looking at all these big long words and everything else, but you're overlooking simple words within that poem that can give you knowing and certainty within there. And that's as much as I'm going to say about it. Everybody has all the information. There's no secret information. Nobody has any secret clues that is going to lead them directly to the poem. They're all right there in the poem for everybody to see. I just don't think that people are interpreting it correctly.
Yeah, and I think, okay, I want to clear up something about Forrest Fenn. I think Forrest Fenn has been honorable, has always said he's going to be honorable. He's not going to reveal anything to anyone, and that if he ever feels like that someone has been unfairly privileged, that he would level the playing field. So we have to assume that he's still behaving that way. I would never assume that Forrest Fenn is not behaving honorably. Okay, I know I suggested these ideas in the realm of possibility, but I don't believe he would be unfair. I do think, okay, the toe in the water, I think, is perfect conversation for Forrest. I think Forrest Fenn wants us to think about certain things. And I think the point he might be making about the toe in the water is some of these are very simple concepts that we're over exaggerating. Maybe we're looking for the 143 and the whatever O's numbers are, and the 19 or the 42. I think we're overcomplicating. You think that people are overcomplicating. I think, yes. Okay, toe in the water is just a simple idea. Warm water means warm water. But okay, still everybody on the block has a different reality. I get it, man. I want this to be a perfect world. And Fenn is obviously asking us to act on faith. This whole game is about faith. We've got to kind of interpret it. I think we should interpret it as simple and as clearly as possible. And just, I think the book is the perfect context for solving the poem. I think Madison Junction is the perfect context for Warm Waters Halt, simply because it's made obvious on the cover of Too Far to Walk and in his locale of his storytelling. I could be completely wrong. I know. I don't know what else to do, though. See, I'm basing it on faith, I'm not basing it on, I'm basing it on my founding principles.
Well, the thing is DeCall, you're right. We have to base it on faith. And I think, faith that the architect of this poem is telling us the truth. That if he wrote us a poem, that if followed precisely, will lead to the end of his rainbow and the treasure. That we have to go on faith of that treasure story is true.
Yeah,
that if he is being true, that he wrote us a poem that has 9 clues, that it's going to lead us directly to the treasure, or the end of his rainbow and the treasure. And I think there's a very good reason why he said the end of his rainbow and the treasure, 2 separate things. Then we have to go on that faith. We have to have faith in the man. And if you don't believe that he's being truthful, that poem will lead us to it, then guys, then get out. Find something else. Go find something else with your time and do something different. But if you believe that the man is being truthful, that he gave us a poem, that if we followed it precisely, whether you mean followed by step or understood, 2 different meanings. We know the man's a wordsmith, and he's using those words against us. Again, it's not what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you think you know for certain that just isn't so. Then what does followed mean? If you have faith that man is being honest with us, then all the information we really need is contained within that poem. Yes, we have the book. They're supposed to contain subtle clues sprinkled in 28,000 words in that book. Good luck finding them and confirming them until you find the treasure. If you don't believe that, if you don't have faith in the man, hang up your hat, go home, stay home, play canasta, watch these shows, and wait for somebody else to find this thing and the word to come out. It may be 1,000 years. It may be next weekend. We don't know, guys.
Well, and I really think it's amazing that you're a poem purist, and I personally put a huge value on poem purity. I believe it is the only source of truth. Okay. But in a strange way, it's crazy that I don't put the same value on grammar, which would eliminate brown trout. It would definitely rule out brown trout. If you're If you're purely convinced of grammar, then you cannot accept brown as a brown trout. I love that. In fact, I respect that more than anything. And I think that's the most worthy reason to abandon brown trout, or even abandon the game. Now, the problem is Forrest Fenn hasn't told us, if that's a good reason to abandon brown trout. And I would.
Well, I mean, again, it just goes back to grammar. I don't look at the word brown capitalized and then go, okay, I need to find brown, and then go, it must be brown trout. I look at everything, from the first line of the poem, as I have gone alone in there, all the way till I get down to put in below the home of brown. I don't start at brown and go, oh my God, it must be brown trout, and then go, well, because he has such an affinity for Montana, Wyoming, then it must be Hebgen Lake.
Yeah.
I start at the very beginning, go through it, and then get to there. Now, that's not where I started out. Everybody knows that I didn't start out as a poem purist. I started out like everybody else. I started out taking keywords and phrases in that book, making assumptions and naive assumptions about what those words meant, jumped on the forums, saw that everybody else was echoing the same thing, brown trout, Madison Junction, no offense to call, and everything else, and fell in line with that. I thought, oh shit, how the hell am I going to find this thing if I don't catch up to Dal Neitzel and Cynthia Meacham and DeCall Thomas and all these people that have been there for years ahead of me, unless I fall in line with this. And until I burned my book and realized that I was following all these freaking rabbit holes, in my opinion, and went back to the basics and understood that if I cannot identify the correct starting point with just the words or just the clues somewhere in the mountains north of Santa Fe and begin at where warm waters halt, then how the heck do I figure this thing out? Well, if all the information is to find the treasure is supposed to be within the poem, then that information to find the correct starting point must be wholly contained within the poem and not outside of it. That was the epiphany that led me to really focusing on just the words, the 166 words in the poem. I can't prove that I'm right, and I'm not telling you guys that's what you have to do. That's just the method I've gone. That's what Forrest Fenn, I believe, is trying to tell us, that I've told so many people to go back to just the poem. I don't want to keep saying this.
I mean, I totally respect your understanding of grammar and your argument. I even agree with your argument. Okay. But the truth is I would have to abandon my whole solve over the brown trout. I would have to abandon my whole solve. Now is this heartfelt moment of, do I value your opinion more than my own gut instincts about Forrest Fenn and this poem? I don't. And it's not because of our friendship. It's not because of your schooling or your expertise. It's just simply me having to follow my own path no matter what. Okay.
Sure. Absolutely.
I can't wait to be wrong about myself. I can't wait to jump for joy up and down and find out my solve is wrong. But I need a sort of pretty reliable source of information to disprove my solve. I really do. I can't be just it can't even be David Kramer, and I'm not being sarcastic. It can't be David Kramer's opinion of brown trout or warm waters halt or anything else. It can't be anybody's. It has to be something that in my heart tells me.
And that's exactly it. You have to blaze your own trail. This is your thrill of the chase, to call. It's my thrill of the chase. It's David Kramer's thrill of the chase. It's Robert Walker's thrill of the chase. It's Misa Chapman's thrill of the chase. It's Laddie Addy's thrill of the chase. It's Dirk's. It's everybody. Zozo Rocks, Alan K, Minotaur Marino, Jay Minnesota, Fossil Man 123, Sasa Johnson. It's all our own thrill of the chase. You have to follow your own path.
Kind of your own heart.
Only one person is going to find this. And ES said earlier in there, how is going back to the basics helped you? Well, ES, it hasn't helped me because I haven't found the treasure, right? And that's the whole goal of this, right, is to find the treasure. Has going back to the basics and grammar helped me? Yes, in the sense that, man, have I learned a lot about our words and what they really mean. and grammar and punctuation. Oh my God, have I learned so much about my own language that I didn't really know, and how to write better and how to better communicate. Now, I could still work on it, obviously. Last Wednesday was not a good example of how to best communicate something, and I know I'm working on it. I'm human. I make mistakes, and I say things that don't come out right. I'm learning. But I tell you, going back to the basics and understanding grammar has sure taught me a lot about my own language, the words I really thought I knew. And it's not what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you think you know for sure that just isn't so. It's your confirmation bias. You think you really know your language? Okay, guys, you need to go back to the basics of 6th grade elementary English and learn your language, because holy cow, man, we've got a lot to learn. Myself included. I've been spending 2 years on grammar, punctuation, guys, and I'm still learning.
Well, Sean, we're at our...
Not specialized knowledge, Marty. It's not specialized knowledge. It's our freaking language. It's what we're supposed to know. It's the one thing that the average redneck from Texas should know. He should know how to communicate. He should know our grammar. It's what each and all of us have in common.
Hour and 53 minutes.
I know you're just asking, Marty. It's fine. Yeah, I know we're getting close to 2 hours here, guys.
And Sean, I got to go track down my teenage son, so I can't stick around after. So sorry to disappoint.
No, we're not gonna do an encore. I know you guys probably want an encore. We're not gonna do it tonight. Listen, guys. Again, it's good. I know after last week, we're trying to get back in the roll of these things, get past all the heat and everything that happened. We're looking forward to Toby's show tomorrow. I don't know if some of you know, Toby is doing a 1 p.m. show tomorrow to kind of go over everything in his direction that him and Shelly are taking. I know a lot of you interested. I'll definitely, I may not be able to tune in due to work, but I will definitely watch the recast on that and see where they're going. It's been an emotional night tonight. I know it has been. David's just returning. He's been on vacation. He's just getting back and seeing everything and the fallout that's happened in the last couple of weeks. So obvious he's very emotional, as I was last week. So guys, give him a little bit of slack trying to get back into this and catch up. He's been, heated a little bit tonight as like I was last week. So catch him a little bit of slack, and hopefully we'll catch back up next week and get this going again. But it's emotional, guys. We know we're going through this emotional roller coaster together, and we'll work this together. We'll move through it. It's okay. It just is what it is. We appreciate all you guys coming out tonight and spending these couple of hours with us. Again, I always say that, this show is really tailored for those that are showing up live. It's not for those that are going to watch the recast. I know we didn't get to a lot of your questions and addressing a lot of you guys in the chat room and some of your questions. Hopefully we'll go back through there and put some comments in the comment section and catch up with us. But, we'll get through this all together. We're trying to recuperate and get back to the basics of this chase. And if you haven't watched Goldilocks' video, I suggest you all go watch it, because I think it really captures the sentiment of where everybody's at right now. We've had this whole whirlwind of about a week that's happened here with everything. And we just want to get back on track and get back to, the good parts of the chase and have fun with this. But we also want to be honest and serious with you too. This is the non-PC beer drinking, thrill of the chase, talking show, and we're not going to sugarcoat things. We're going to tell you to get the kids back in the other room, and we're going to get down and dirty sometimes, but that's what it is, and that's what this whole thing is about. We all have differences of opinions, and we'll work it through it. So it's been fun with you all, and hope you enjoyed the show. And if you have, give it a like. If not, we all know there's that other button as well, and that's okay. And we hope to catch you all on the flip side. Have a good night, guys. We'll see you later.